The NBA is the king of the basketball world, and it was formed in 1946. Dr. James Naismith created basketball in 1891. So what were the professional basketball leagues during that 55-year gap? Welcome to Cager Scoops. I'm Evan Samuels, and this is the first professional basketball league. So before we get into the video, if you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and hit that little bell icon to the right of it so you can always be alerted when a new video is uploaded. So the National Basketball League is the forerunner to the NBA. The NBL started with 13 previously independent teams in 1937. The league began as the Midwest Basketball Conference in 1935, but changed its name in 1937 to target a larger audience. The league was created by three corporations: General Electric, Firestone, and Goodyear. It was primarily made up of Great Lakes, small area, and corporate teams. The league began rather informally. Scheduling was left up to the teams as long as the teams played at least 10 games and 4 of them were on the road. Games played increased on a yearly basis as the popularity of professional basketball and the NBL grew in America. Games consisted either of 4 10-minute quarters or 3 15-minute periods. The choice was made by the home team. Some of the teams were independent while others were owned by companies that also found jobs for their players. The history of the NBL falls into 3 eras, each contributing significantly to the growth of professional basketball and the emergence of the NBA. The first dynasty centered on the Oshkosh All-Stars and their center Leroy "Cowboy" Edwards. The middle years saw the emergence of the Fort Wayne Zollner Pistons, who were later instrumental in the survival of the NBA during its infancy. The final period of note during the NBL's existence centered on George Mikan and the emergence of the big man in basketball. The Oshkosh All-Stars appeared in the championship series for 5 consecutive years, from 1938 to 42. They won 2 titles. They were led by a 6'4" center named Leroy "Cowboy" Edwards. Edwards was the NCAA All-American and College Player of the Year as a member of the 1934-35 University of Kentucky Wildcats. He left Kentucky after 2 years to pursue a professional basketball career, which was unheard of at the time. He set numerous NBL and professional basketball scoring records and is generally credited with the introduction of the 3-second rule in basketball, which is still in existence today. Edwards played in all 12 NBL seasons with the Oshkosh All-Stars. The Fort Wayne Zollner Pistons were led by tough veteran Bobby McDermott. The Pistons finished second in 1942 and 1943 and won the league title in 1944 and 1945. Like many teams of the era, it was not uncommon for Fort Wayne to play its games in taverns, armories, high school gyms, or ballrooms. Challenging the Zollner Pistons and Oshkosh for supremacy were the Sheboygan Redskins. Beginning in 1941, the season before Fort Wayne joined the NBL, Sheboygan appeared in 5 of 6 championship series. They lost to Oshkosh in the 1941 finals, beat Fort Wayne for the title in 1943, but lost to the Zollner Pistons in 1944 and 1945, and were swept in the 1946 finals by the league's newest members, the powerhouse Rochester Royals, who had Hall of Famers Al Servey, Bob Davies, and Red Holzman. The NBL's third era was dominated by George Mikan, the 6'10", 3-time NCAA All-American center from DePaul University in Chicago. As a rookie, he led the Chicago American Gears to the 1947 NBA title, but before the next season, owner Maurice White pulled his team out of the league and formed his own 24-team circuit called the Professional Basketball League of America. That venture quickly failed, and Mikan was signed by the NBL's Minneapolis Lakers, where he teamed with Jim Pollard to win the 1948 championship. After the 1947-48 season, Mikan's Lakers quit the league to join the Basketball Association of America along with 3 other NBL clubs: Rochester, Fort Wayne, and Indianapolis. The NBL added an all-black team in December of its final seasons when one of its replacement clubs folded, the Detroit Vagabond Kings. The New York Wrens, composed entirely of African Americans, played out the season in Dayton, Ohio as the Dayton Wrens. In 1949, after a 3-year battle with the BAA for fans and players, the NBL and BAA merged to become the NBA. The NBL contributed significantly to the foundation of the NBA, but it also had major accomplishments in other areas, most notably in offering opportunities for African American players. In the 1942-1943 season, with many players in the armed forces, two NBL clubs, the Toledo Jim White Chevrolets and the Chicago Studebakers, filled their roster by signing African Americans 5 years before Jackie Robinson would break baseball's color barrier with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Toledo signed several black players to start the season, including Bill Jones, who had starred at the University of Toledo, but the team lost its first 4 games and folded due to financial difficulties. Chicago stocked its roster with several members of the Harlem Globetrotters who worked during the week at the Studebaker plant, but it also folded after compiling an 8-15 record. 5 current NBA teams trace their history back to the NBL. 3 teams joined the BAA in 1948, the Minneapolis Lakers, now the Los Angeles Lakers, the Rochester Royals, now the Sacramento Kings, and the Fort Wayne Zollner Pistons, now the Detroit Pistons. 2 more teams were part of the merger that created the NBA in 1949. The Buffalo Bisons Tri-City Blackhawks are now the Atlanta Hawks, and the Syracuse Nationals are now the Philadelphia 76ers. Thank you for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment with your thoughts and some suggestions for some future topics you would like to see discussed. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and follow us on our Instagram and Twitter at Cager Scoops so that you can continue to stay in the scoop with Cager Scoops. I'm Evan Samuels, and this was the First Professional Basketball League.